Good morning, and thank you for listening to WXOX 97.1 FM in Louisville, Kentucky, or perhaps you are listening on our sister station WXND at 100.9 on the radio dial. This is Artist Talk with LVA, the show produced by Louisville Visual Art, and I'm your host, Keith Waits. I've got two artists today I've known for quite a while, and I'll tell you who they are, and then I'll tell you why we're all talking together today. Clare Hirn received a significant scholarship to attend the New York Academy of Art located in Manhattan. The curriculum continues to focus on strong foundational skills for working realistically from life and the figure. After graduating with her master's degree in painting and drawing in 1990, Hirn worked for a mural design firm in New York City, learning the techniques of working large scale. Upon returning to her hometown of Louisville, Kentucky, she pursued both mural work and her personal painting, participating and receiving awards in many regional shows. Hirn's fine art murals and paintings grace many homes, businesses, and public spaces and have appeared in numerous publications. Most recently, she has launched an initiative through Louisville Visual Art called Curate, Purchase, and Inspire, and we will talk a little bit about that. And then Shohei Katayama is a Japanese-American artist who explores the space between light and dark, life and death, beauty and danger, nature and man. His work includes the drawings, sculpture, line drawings, sculpture, and installation art. Katayama received his MFA from Carnegie Mellon University in 2019. He is the recipient of the Outstanding Achievement in Contemporary Sculpture Award by the International Sculpture Center, the Frank Racci Fund for the Art at the Frontier Award, and was a finalist in the 21C Artadia Award, among others. His work has been exhibited nationally and internationally in Italy, New York, Oregon, and more. Katayama has participated in residencies in Norway, Brazil, New Jersey, the Tough Art Residency Program in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is just like one of the greatest names of a residency I've ever heard, and the Asia Institute Crane House back here in Louisville, Kentucky. Shohei and Claire, thank you so much for being here.
Definitely.
It's an honor.
Well, and there you go. Give me a segue there, Shohei. And the reason the three of us are talking together today is that on March 24th at Art Sanctuary, we will have the annual LVA Honors event in which we recognize, there are 4 people being recognized for achievement kind of in the last year, but a lot of times it's really about almost a longer period of time and just sort of stopping to take stock. Shohei is the emerging artist for this year. And I think and Clare Hirn is getting the Benefactor Award for her generous donation that kicked off the Curate, Purchase, and Inspire program. And Shohei for coming back to Louisville and for all the work he's doing, but also let's take a second to start with you, Shohei. You opened this space called Carbon Copy, which is still pretty new. It's her name. I'm forgetting her name. That was just there.
Farrell Fagiola.
Farrell Fagiola. Oh my gosh, I loved her work. I see. I'm getting old, you guys. But you've opened this space, which is a really interesting space down in Old Louisville. So take a second, and I think this goes to the heart of why we looked to you for this award this year, to talk about why it's important to you to do something like to have that space, because you obviously are a very busy person. You've been teaching at the Kentucky College of Art Plus Design, and you've been doing all of these things that are listed in your bio. You're a world traveler. What's important to you about doing a space like Carbon Copy in Louisville?
Yeah, I mean, it comes from a personal experience of just growing up in Kentucky and growing up in Louisville. And I just remember one of the things that really prevented me from really exploring large scale or experiment installation was just the lack of access to space. And I wanted to provide this venue that's large enough for any artist to approach, kind of experiment, have a place where they can just use it almost as like an artist playground. So essentially just to cultivate that kind of discipline if they please to do so. I also wanted it to be a venue so that regional artists can come by and we can cross-pollinate different kind of artist discussions, discourse, and yeah, just enhancing the communication within the visual arts between different states. Yeah.
But did you ever feel tempted to leave Louisville to move somewhere else to have another city as your base?
I mean, sure, but you know, Louisville's always home. So for me, it's just like, yeah, it doesn't really matter where I have my art practice or exhibitions. I always just consider, I mean, I came here, you know, in my mid-teens, and I feel like I went through college here. This is just home. Just really connect with the city.
Okay. I think that's you can't answer it better than that. But I'm just always grateful that at artists, and I think of Ed Hamilton as being a really good example of an artist with an international reputation, but he still lives on the west side of Louisville, like he still keeps his feet planted in his hometown and his roots. And I always really appreciate and respect that. Um, and because and appreciate that impulse too to contribute to the community. Uh, right, so, but Claire, let's get you in here a little bit. I don't want to ignore you. So let's follow on that theme for a second. So you are somebody who has been an artist, creative work, who's done many things. You've been involved with Louisville Visual Art and other organizations in town. You have a terrific individual independent practice. And what I think is so interesting is once you had the means, how you chose to do something with that, with having a sudden bunch of money at your disposal. Talk about this idea for Curate, Purchase, and Inspire, and where it originates from.
Well, I've been brewing this idea for many years before I had funding, and was thinking that I would try to start a nonprofit to gain that funding, but that idea was always very daunting to me, and I didn't want it to be my 80-hour-a-week job. I still wanted to have my art practice, etc. But the idea originated just because when I have worked on site in places such as hospitals or other venues where people come through and experience the artwork, you can tell how much it means to them to have actual artwork right there in front of them that is, generated by a live human being. And I've also, as an artist, really experienced the monetary hardship of being an artist and coming up with, the next month's rent, and then it was mortgage, and, there's just certain fluctuations in the economy, as we know, that artists are usually kind of like the canary in the gold mine, right? They are the ones who feel it first a lot of times.
Mhm.
So I wanted to bring those two things together, where you actually put money in an artist's pocket, like real dollars, not asking them to donate, which I've been asked to do any number of times over the years. And also put the artwork out in the community, where I know it's not just beneficial, it's necessary. It's necessary to have it out there. And so to me, it seems like a no-brainer to put those two items together. And then, I inherited money from my parents, and this just seemed like a real natural move to do. And I was really glad when I talked to you guys at LVA that you all were thinking about how to be more relevant to the grown artist, the more mature set, so to say.
Well, right. It's the idea of like following the life cycle of an artist, and we've had children's education programs in place since 1925, but the some of the follow-up aspects have been stronger or weaker at different times, and I think that to focus on that now. But this is also a unique program. We were, and I think it's a program that we've talked a lot about this, and Shohei has been a part of working on this program and making it a reality too. That I don't think people really quite understand where we are in the process now. Just for anybody who's listening, is we have received submissions, we have reviewed them, we have done some interviewing and some visits and things like that, and the people have been selected. Although we're not going to announce them on this show, they haven't been announced publicly yet. They've just recently been informed themselves, but that's coming. So people, I think when people start to see it,
Right,
see what these people do, and to be clear, the people that are chosen are curators, or they are doing a curatorial project.
right.
So, and I don't mean to start getting into being sort of the representative of Louisville Visual Art on this. And at some point, you are probably going to come back with some of those people, and we'll have a show about that program.
Oh, I think that's great. I think it is challenging for people to really understand what it is, but we have gotten the idea across because, the applicants that we really responded to totally get what we're talking about.
Right.
So
Right.
that was really encouraging.
Well, and so, and just to break it down, again, I don't mean to be, but just to break it down. So we are paying through your generosity, we are paying somebody to curate a program in which they will purchase at market value work from local artists that will then be placed in local nonprofit locations,
Right.
offices or spaces. That was one of the things that was so interesting, is that, and I don't want to get into all the different kind of spaces that are involved in the proposals. So, but really, in a nutshell, and this is why you're being honored, is how cool it is to see this is what an artist does, as you said, who has struggled, like most artists will at some point, if not maybe most of their life, who has gone through all these struggles. What you do when you have the opportunity to be a benefactor, and taking that opportunity and realizing this dream. And so that's why you're being honored for the Benefactor Award. You're not being honored as an artist, but your benefactor action only happens because of you being an artist, I think.
Right.
Shohei, let's just to stay on this for a little bit. So you've been involved with helping us develop this program, and like what is your take when you look at this program as an artist? What's your reaction to it?
I think it's a very powerful program, and it has so much potential to change artists' lives, and not just like artists' lives, but the community that the artist kind of chooses the context. There's a lot of places that don't have artwork, whether it is to enrich I guess the staff or whatever institution, organization, and giving them access to artwork, local, regional artists. I think it's it's spectacular. It is the community engagement. There is an art education component to it. I think it's just Claire said it perfectly. It's a no-brainer idea, really. It's the next progress towards how can we provide art experiences to areas that are in dire need,
Right. So let's turn back to you for a second. You're getting the honor you're getting is the Emerging Artist Award, and one of the things, this being the 5th year that we've done these honors, the discussion about what constitutes an emerging artist is always sort of a moving target. It seems like one of the more fluid definitions, and it's one of those things that's kind of like, well, I don't want to see it. Like I can say, okay, yes, but I mean, like, people in Louisville have known your work for a few years now. You had some very significant exhibitions and were involved in exhibitions before you went to Carnegie Mellon. I remember your show at Pyro. I don't know what year that was, 2012 or something, maybe. I don't know. You had that individual show at Pyro that I was just, I just thought was outstanding. It was so cool, and was maybe one of the most interesting exhibits that year. And your work is not like anybody else's work, certainly in Louisville, but I don't see work on an international scale the way you obviously are. But how do you feel about being called emerging artist? I mean, how would you want to define emerging, and what are your thoughts about that?
It's funny, I had a lot of discussions about what it qualifies to mean emerging, but somebody said, oh, it's somebody who recently graduated from their master's program. I don't know. Personally, it's a huge honor for me, just because I did grow up here, and it means a lot. And sometimes it means so much that I feel like I don't deserve it. I don't know. There's that constant imposter syndrome that's preventing me from being fully it feels surreal. So even if it is an emerging artist award, no, it's I don't know how else to say. I'm just very thankful. And I feel slightly embarrassed. I'm just not really somebody who likes the spotlight, or I'm just like, I like to be the artist that lives in a cave.
And carbon copy is almost a cave. So There are some windows. I think there's some windows in the back wall, right?
Yeah, right.
Um, well, it's the way the award is developed over the years. I remember the first year we did it, we gave it to Vinhai Kyo, who was a young artist who had come through Kentucky College of Art Plus Design. Then he was working there, but he had a really, I thought it was maybe a brilliant exhibit, and it was definitely the best exhibit of the year at Mormon Maloney in that original space they had. And so it was very clear to me that was somebody who a year ago, maybe very few people even knew that name. And then he had this exhibit and everybody was talking about it. That's a very easy and understandable sort of emerging definition. But as we've gone through the years, it's not always as easy to find something that is that succinctly defined as saying an emerging artist. But I think in part it's about, again, when we look at that resume, and what you've done since coming out of Carnegie Mellon. I remember when you came back from Pittsburgh to Louisville, and you were saying hi, and Shohei, you're one of the most courteous people I know. You came around just to say hello at LVA, just like, hey man, how's you doing? And I asked you, said, are you going to stay? Are you going to go? And you're like, well, no, Louisville's my base. But then you described the next 6 months of your life, and it didn't sound like you were going to be spending very much time in Louisville. Because I think that's when it was Venice, and you were doing a residency in Europe, and all these things. But that's part of emerging too. And I feel like the only thing about that is that while you have this reputation that's growing around the world, I'm hungry to see more of your work here. I want, because I can't fly to Norway, and I can't fly to Venice and all these kinds of things. That's just me. But and there are people in town that can. But that you choose to do that with your base in Louisville and contribute and be a part of things that are happening here while you manage all that. So it almost seemed, I know I want you to talk, and I'm talking a lot, but it almost seems like this is like you have emerged, but now you're having a second sort of, like there's a surge for you right now. Does that seem a fair thing to say?
Sure. I'm just going with the flow, man. I mean, like, I'm overwhelmed constantly, but I'm trying to ride the wave,
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but it's just been a crazy year, and things seem to be crazier every day. And I don't know, I'm pretty swamped until mid 2023. So I'm just trying to stay afloat. Yeah.
Well, what are the next things for you then? Where are you? Do you have residencies on your calendar for the rest of the year, or are you exhibiting outside of Louisville or in Louisville?
Louisville, maybe. I have a couple group exhibitions coming up. One, I didn't sign the contract yet, so I'm not sure if I'm supposed to disclose it, but
Well, don't get yourself in any trouble. But
sure.
no,
Yeah, so I do have a show coming up, one in Lexington as well, which is more of a collaborative project with, I shouldn't say the name, so I'll keep that away. I have a couple commission works over in Pittsburgh, unfortunately not Louisville. One's with the Heinz Endowment that I can say. The other one is with a hospital, not going to disclose the name. And then doing a residency, kind of like a residency, but it's like just an exhibition that's coming up over at the Mattress Factory in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And the Mattress Factory is this kind of venue that provides immersive installations or kind of really radically experimental artwork.
Cool. So you're staying busy. We're going to have plenty of things, or there will be plenty of things happening, and maybe, possibly, we're going to see some of it here in Louisville.
Yeah, I'm hoping to. I just need to, have time to breathe a little bit.
So, Claire, let's bounce back to you. I like to try to keep it going back and forth between each artist here. So, Claire, so far with the CPI project, are you still able? I mean, it's taken some of your time, not as much as if you started your own nonprofit, but are you finding that you have sufficient time to keep your practice where you want it to be?
It's kind of odd that for some reason I have felt a little challenged, like getting the consistent hours in, which at this point in life I thought wouldn't be hard after raising 2 children and shepherding two parents through their last years. And, you know, I'm still aiming for that Emerging Artist Award, to be honest. And so I think I might get there. I've always considered myself a late bloomer, and I do feel like I'm getting my mind around a new segment of art making.
Oh, okay. So is this a departure from what we know of you? Is it a different medium, or what? Or maybe you don't want to talk about it. What can you say about it?
Right now, returning to the figure. I did a lot of figurative work early on. I've always been enamored with landscape, and I've been doing a series of works that, and I've got one out in the woods right now. It's like a collaboration with nature. I put a canvas out in the woods or in the creek bed and I'll draw on it and let it sit and see what happens, and go draw on it again, and then bring it into the studio to work with what the mold, etc., has done.
Really?
Yeah, it's very inspiring. So I really do feel like it's a collaboration with the environment. And so I've got a series of works along those lines now.
I'm a very pragmatic, functional thinker, so I immediately think about, well, and I don't want you to say where it is for exactly these reasons, but like, do you leave it in a place that is secure, that you know that it won't be like disturbed or molested, except by nature, which is what you're looking for?
Well, and actually, so my parents had land south of Bardstown.
Okay.
It's about an hour and 20-minute drive from here. And so it's out there. The
So
pieces
it's somewhere. So it's a secure.
secure. Yeah. There was one time I went out to go work on a canvas that had been in the creek bed, and it was out in the middle of the field. And I don't know how it got there. It had its own adventure that I don't know anything about.
So you think some critter came along and
That's the only thing I can guess. You know, I had it lodged under rocks in the creek bed, and I guess that's a possibility.
are there bears in that part of the?
You know, I've not seen one. There are lots of turkeys and foxes, and, you know, smaller bobcats, I think, are out there.
Well, and maybe
Hunters. There are hunters out there.
that's fascinating. You know, it makes me want to be. You know, like you should plant a little camera up on a tree or
No,
something.
I've thought about that. I have thought about it.
You know, it may, you know, it'd be interesting, particularly to know what happened there. What a little, but on the other hand, maybe the mystery is a part of
Yeah, I
the.
kind of like having the mystery. And then I turned it into a painting that is the creek bed oriented, and it's some fallen logs. And to me, it ended up really speaking about the journey of my parents together. So it's really kind of, it's a fascinating way to just execute a piece of work over a period of time.
How long what's the longest that piece has been out there, or have they been? Is everything still out there that you've placed?
No, probably the longest is, you know, maybe 9 months.
I mean, that's a pretty long time.
Long time. And it's kind of cool because then you realize the cold weather doesn't really do that much to it. You really need that moisture and warmth to kind of activate things.
Well, I mean, are you pleased so far with the results? Have you had any of the pieces be completely ruined or taken beyond what you think is a reasonable place for you?
I did try it with a piece of paper here in town, actually, and that I've got it stashed away thinking maybe I'll be able to resurrect it, but I think I might not be able to.
I think that's pretty reasonable to have some of it just doesn't work. That's
yeah, totally. Yeah.
I'm always hesitant to use the word failure, but you know, I remember our mutual friend Andrew Cousins was part of an exhibit where it was about recognizing the failures of things in work and the lessons learned, because that is how we learn most of the most important lessons.
Yeah.
Failing or stumbling or
right,
stuff like that. So yeah, in fact, I'm going to make sure Andrew Cousins listens to this, because I think he would love what you're doing. That ties into some of his work. It's interesting. I had no idea you were doing that. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
So let me ask you, so Claire, have you prepared, like, do you know what is your, when we talk about let's go back to the award for a second. When we talk about the awards, the honors, um, uh, what kind of speech do you make? And I don't even know if I'm not even sure if we're asking you to make a speech, but like, what do you say to people about getting this honor?
Well, to be honest, I've had to ponder it some. Actually, when Christian called me, I said, well, if you have somebody else you think might want it this year, that's fine. And I mean, it's a weird thing. It is a weird thing to be getting, a benefactor award, in the sense that, well, just anyway, it's a new role for me, and but what it does what it does tell me is how much this program really means to Louisville Visual Art. The partnering with LVA on this has just been beautiful, and it's been kind of seamless. Like, I mean, that's how you know when things are right, when you don't have to feel like you're pushing up against a wall half the time, that it just seems to kind of flow one step to the next. And I've really felt that. And I truly believe that that it means as much to LVA to be putting this program on as it does to me. And that, it's my baby. It's something I've been thinking about for quite some time. So I feel like I couldn't have pulled it off without LVA. And I also think that LVA is a very safe place for it to be.
Well, I think, again, I don't want to get all too mystical about stuff, but I tend to think, and sometimes I have to find this again, but that things happen for a reason, or the timing, things happen at a certain time for a reason. And I think that Christian Anderson, who came in to be our executive director in 2020, in the middle of pandemic, he came in and his whole staff was working from home. But his experience as a curator,
Right.
I think I think he was exactly the right person to be in that position when you had this idea and
Yeah.
came with it, because I think he really knew what to do with it.
Mhm.
I don't know that I could have, he has so much experience and understanding of I think what to do with this. And you guys just kind of went along. I was just thinking before we started recording this, it was just about a year ago that you called us, I think. It was February or something like that. It seems like it was early in the year.
I think you're right.
Yeah. And then you and Christian had a bunch of meetings. You guys went, like, it's like you went off away from everybody else and just started talking about it, and developing it over time. But I think the reason why it's such and people might look at this and say, well, of course they did it. Of course she's the benefactor. She went to them and gave them this money. But I think it's more than that. There's a showing our appreciation, but I think there's also the idea that this is what you can do. Like, other people should think about, it's great to support organizations, but you could also be the catalyst for innovation
Mhm.
and very significant support and development of local creatives,
Mhm.
and with and this is such a perfect example. I wish other people, whether it's coming to us or whether it's going somewhere and doing something and having maybe a program like this with music or something, I don't know, but it's really what a benefactor should do, is not just throw money around to have a tax write-off, but think about how they can generate change
Mhm.
and really help the organizations generate change. So that's my sentiment on why I think you so richly deserve this honor.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
And now, because I know I'm embarrassing you, let's get back to, we can embarrass Shohei for a little while now.
Uh,
I gotta say though too, one of the things that's so interesting here is that you both are sort of like so embarrassed a little bit about it. Janet Britt was the same way, that you say that, Claire, when because I got to call Janet Britt about being recognized as teacher. She goes, "Oh no, no, no! There must be dozens of people more deserving than me. You're making a big mistake." So I think we have like the most humble group this year, for sure. Um, so Shohei, did you think about saying no and refusing it?
I mean, I just felt really uncomfortable about it. Maybe it's just because it's, I just came to Louisville. I came back during the pandemic, 2020, and I wasn't really active in the Louisville art scene as much immediately after graduate school. And then I was approached to getting this. So the timing kind of made me feel a little awkward about it. Yeah, it's just
Well,
been a few years since I've been back to Louisville. That's why.
is it? But I think the fact that, like you say, you came back to Louisville, which we've touched on before, but also, I mean, come on, man, give yourself a break. It was a pandemic. I think it's fair to say, don't you think that carbon copy just would have happened, started a year earlier, maybe? That was in your way for doing some of these ideas. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you didn't think about carbon copy right away, but you had a space before you went to Pittsburgh that seems to be important to you. It wasn't just some roll of the dice or something. It's important to you to do something like that.
Oh, to providing like a project space?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I always look at it as like social sculpture, like moving a different kind of groups of people, kind of merging them together, non-traditional white cube space. Yeah, I mean, those are the things that I'm interested in. Like, yeah, I look at it as more like sculpture or, contextual practice or, kind of that kind of realm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what excites me. How can you exchange different ideas to different parts of the community? Yeah.
Well, so what are the things that are coming up at Carbon Copy? I know Hannah DeWitt is doing a thing. What else is coming up?
March 26th is, I believe, the opening.
Yes.
For her performance. We also have a artist, gosh, I forgot the last name. His first name is Jesse from Nashville, potentially doing this kind of a brain imagery installation. We have Senta Schumacher from Pittsburgh doing this kind of like magical, she's kind of considers herself a witch and does these kind of scientific discoveries on microscopic worlds and ice and water and elements. So she may be doing something there in May. We have Rebecca Norden, yes, potentially doing some. So we have a line of artists until about November. I can say the names too if you want me to, but it's like.
No, I'm just curious. Like, so how do you connect with? Rebecca Norton is here in Louisville, and you guys probably were acquainted, maybe even before you went to Carnegie Mellon. But so how do you find these people? Do you just find them because you're actively searching out things, or did you get connected with them?
Personally, I'm just waiting. Somebody asks, what's the lineup, and they say, can I use the space? I wanted to be more organic in the way that people use the space rather than this month-to-month exhibition kind of layout. Meaning, if you have a project in mind that you want to try out, I'm just willing to provide the space. Yeah. I don't want to look at it as a gallery space. It's just, like I said, a big playground for artists. Yeah.
Well, no, and it's not. It's a fairly rough and undeveloped space. I mean, you've got electricity in there. I mean, but that's exactly what you need, right?
Right.
The more defined the space is, the more that leads the artist, whereas you're looking for the artist just to have the room to do the stuff. And it sounds like they're finding you.
Yeah, I guess so. But it's, I offer the space too. So I'm listening to some people and they say they need a space that's large enough to accommodate their practice. So I say, go for it. Here's the key. Have fun. I think in Farrell's case, I wanted to make at least the first exhibition very cohesive to the space. The I-beams are kind of like her iconic look, especially for industrial metal sculptures. And I thought it's like, oh, wow, it's like a brilliant combination to the architecture and the actual pieces. So that was more like a traditional exhibition, but I think the exhibitions that'll come out coming forth will be I'm hoping it to be very just different. Some being performance, some being just more like musicians using it and activating the venue. And I like to see, but no, lots of exciting things happening. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's just interesting because I mean, my mind always immediately goes to like, what's the traditional paradigm, and that's like you're running a gallery and you're a gallery person and you go and you find things and you work at doing that. And it's interesting to see that it's working kind of the opposite way with you, that you know. And I imagine I sort of imagine artists like that, somebody like Farrell, right, being a good, and I know Farrell and I've seen her work and I've been out the studio she has, and you know, she can't just show anywhere. She can't just put that work anywhere. So artists that are working with unusual scale or performance or installation pieces probably keep their ear to the ground, and there's like a network among them. And oh, have you heard about this new space in Louisville?
Yeah, no, it's just, yeah, it's been very exciting. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's been very, yeah, it's very exciting to hear when an artist feels very happy about the work that they present because of the space. Yeah, and even Farrell's exhibition, I'm so proud of her and their work. It's breathtaking. And it's, oh, you know, I have a little apartment connected to the space as well. So every time I walk out, I just see this amazing, magnificent exhibition I'm very excited for. So yeah, I get to wake up and live with beautiful art.
Is there a selfish element to that that you have your own private exhibition space?
I'm living the dream, right?
Well, it's all for Shohei.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the artists. So yeah,
Okay.
It'll be an exciting year.
Well, terrific. Well, listen, you guys, I think that's a good stopping point for us. Thank you so much for joining me here. And any last words? Anything I didn't ask you want to say? Nope.
Thanks for doing what you do, Keith.
Yeah, Keith, you're awesome.
I know.
Okay.
Thanks for keeping a pulse on it all.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, I was at an opening at somewhere a few weeks ago, and somebody started talking to me about, oh, you should have so and so on your radio show. And I said, what's that? What are they doing? I said, well, I haven't heard anything about that. I don't know anything about I've never heard about that. What's going on? And I'm going to call her out. Hannah DeWitt was sitting next to me, and she said, Keith, I thought you had your finger on the pulse of everything happening in arts in Louisville. I'm disappointed in you. Which I'm just getting to know Hannah DeWitt, but I thought, boy, that's Hannah DeWitt. And she was joking, but it was also kind of like, I'm surprised you don't know that. And I'm like, what? And she said, I thought you had your finger on the pulse of everything. And I said, who told you that? Who's going around saying that about me? But you know, it's the thing that you never know everything. There's always a new thing. There's always a new artist. There's always something you didn't know about. And it gets frustrating because you sort of feel like, I want to know everything that's going on. And it's kind of impossible to know everything that's going on because there's always a new thing right around the corner. Always some unexpected thing right around the corner. That's the great fun of working in the arts. Anyway, I think that's how I think about it anyway. So, well, thank you for those kind words, and thank you for being with me this morning. I'll say it again, March 24th at Art Sanctuary. You can go to louisvillevisualart.org and go under events, and you'll see everything you know about joining us at Honors at Art Sanctuary. It is a fundraiser, but we are honoring these four people. And let me say, so Clare Hirn and Shohei Katayama are here today, but we're also honoring Janet Britt and William Duffy. William Duffy getting the Legacy Award as somebody who has been such an influence on so many people. He taught for years, and he's now doing all sorts of powerful public sculptures. So it's a really good group of people this year being honored, and please consider coming to help us do that. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Keith.
Yeah. Thanks, Keith.
All right.
Bye-bye.